Using Microsoft Access 2013, building forms can't be more simple. Whether you're a novice user or an experienced one, the Wizard feature has several built-in layouts that allow us to build very quick forms with just a few clicks of our mouse. I've opened up a database that I have on hand, and I want to create a form regarding patient information. So I have three tables available: the patient, billing, and visit. Either you can select one now, or you can just click on Create. And in the Forms area, we're going to create a form using the Wizard. I'm going to click on Form Wizard. I have the option of using any of my tables or queries that I have built. And I just want the table of patient, and I'm going to grab all the information. So these are the available fields. I have the patient ID, their last name, first name, birth date, phone, address, city and state, and zip code and email. So I can grab each one of these fields individually, or I can grab them all at one time. And if I want all of them in this order, all I need to do is click this double right-hand arrow. That brings them all over. Perhaps I want the phone at the end. So a quick cheating kind of way of doing it is I bring phone back into the available fields by hitting the left-hand arrow, and then click on email and bring it back by using the right-handed arrow, and now the phone number will be the last field on my form. I'm going to click Next. Now I have several layouts that I have to choose from. One is in columns, another is tabs, another is the datasheet view, and the other is justified. Depending on which layout you like for your form, it might make sense to have one over the other. So I'm just going to pick column and see what it looks like. Say Next, and I'm going to name it column. So patient column, just so it's in the column form, and I'll show you all four different forms using the same information. I'm going to say Finish. And this is it. It's in one column. A form, again, is something that will update my table if I have to update. It's interactive. So let's say he doesn't live at 501 Perkins, it's now 1501 Perkins. And if I go to my patient table and open up my patient table, then I have let me go back to patient column. Let's see, student last, student first. So that's the patient I need to find. Student last, student first, Perkins. That should update as soon as I click on Next Record. And there it did. It did update as soon as I clicked on the next record. Let me go back to my form. I'm going to close out this table so it's less confusing. And I'm going to create another form using the same information, but this time in a different layout. I'm going to go to Create in the Forms group, Form Wizard. Again, I'm going to grab all information. I'm going to go ahead and leave phone where it is just for speediness. Click on Next. This time I'm going to click on Tabular. Click on Next. This time I'm going to call it Patient Tab. Tabular. I'm going to go ahead and say Finish. Now you see I should change this size, but right now I just want to show you the different layouts. So here's the column, here's the tabular. It shows me all of the records all on one sheet, versus the column I would have to toggle through each of the records. Let me go back to Create, the Form Wizard. Again, choose all of my information fields from my patient table. I'm going to go to Datasheet, say Next. I'm going to rename it as Datasheet. Say Finish. And here's my data sheet. The nice thing about a data sheet is I can change the width of the column versus this tabular, I cannot. Not at this level. I would have to go into design view. But again, it's very similar to the tab, except I have a few more options here. I can sort it. I can resize my columns versus the tabular is just a flat document. Okay, and we have one more. Let's go to Create, Form Wizard, bring all the information over, go to Next, go to Justified, say Next, Patient Justified, and say Finish. Very similar to Patient Column, but now it's all back to side by side by side by side until you get to the end, side by side by side by side, and it would fill in a whole entire form that way. Those are the 4 layouts of the wizard using the same data, so you can see the difference. I've closed out all of our forms and I want to go back to the patient tabular form that we created. We had a few problems with that one. In terms of the date of birth, that column is not wide enough, likewise with the phone number and likewise with the email. So once we use the wizard to actually build a form, we can use this structure and change what we need to change. So how to do that is on the Home tab, if we go into the Views group and go to Design View, we'll see how Access really reads the form, how it was built behind the scenes. So in Design View, you'll see we have some labels. These are labels, and then these boxes are actually where the records show up. So we know the birth date, the phone, and the email are too narrow. So we need to first expand our floor, in essence, our viewing area of our form. So I'm just going to grab the side, click, drag, hold, and perhaps I want it in landscape. So I'm just going to do 10.5 inches. That should give us more viewing area, and we can print this out landscape versus portrait. So now that we have that, you want to be very careful about moving the label and the information underneath it the same distance and keep it aligned so it looks nice. So the first thing I'm going to do is select a whole bunch of these. I'm going to click on date of birth, hold down the control, and I'm going to, pardon me, I'm actually going to start with the phone number, address, and I'm just holding down the control. And I'm going to move these over to the right slightly so I can expand. All of them move at one time, and they're kept well aligned by doing this method. Now that I have them moved over, I'm going to take date of birth and again hold down control, and I'm going to resize them. When I grab them both, they're going to resize the same width. Now I need a little bit extra room for phone number. Right now I'm kind of guessing what I need right now. So I'm going to move over address, hold down control, city, state, zip, email. I'm going to move it over, perhaps to right there. And I'm going to go back to phone, select both of them, resize them the same size. Just gives it a nice way of aligning things. And then again, email needed a little bit more space. So I'm going to select email. I'm going to widen email. And now I'm going to go take a peek. So back up to Views on the Home tab. I'm going to go to Form View. And that looks much, much better, at least in terms of the width. I can change some of where these columns are. Looks like email could be a little bit wider. So again, View, Design View. I'm going to move back address, city, state, zip, and even email. I'm going to drag it back and expand email all by itself. So again, I'm using the control key to do all of this. And I'm even going to drag the distance that the base of the form is and take a peek at the form. much better. Things are aligning much better. And I'd probably work with this a little bit more. But that's how you would resize the tab columns using the tabular. When we're in that design view, there's a few other things that we can do. We can change some of the colors, we can change the fonts. Let's say I don't want patient tabular to show up without the space. At this point, it's just a text box and I can change it. The name of my form is still one word. It used to be for SQL and some other database that they don't permit spaces, and Access, when you move from a database to a relational database like SQL and you move over to Access, you keep those structures in case you have to use a SQL database structure behind it. So that's why I don't use spaces in any of the titles. But when I view it on a form, I may not want that. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my space. Maybe I don't want this background to be blue, so I'm going to change the format and perhaps change the fill color to maybe a green, and then I can go back to view and now it's a green. So there's some things that you can change very quickly by using the wizard for a form. So I'm going to open up the patient column and go to design view. I can even apply a theme and change my colors. These are just click of the button. And once I view it, now the font's different, the colors are different, and I can keep everything the same that way by using a theme. But I really just want to talk about building the structure of a very quick form using the wizard. Let's review what we did with Access 2013's Form Wizard. We used each of the layout options to build 4 forms, one in columnar, another in tabular, another in datasheet view, and also one in the justified view. It was very quick and simple to use the wizard, but we did see that in one of our layouts, some of our columns weren't quite the width that we need. But that's okay. We were able to go into the design view and change the width of those boxes. We even were able to add a little bit of color to make our forms a little bit different from the form wizard itself. Otherwise, very quick and simple to build forms using the wizard.